Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into the Graham Lincoln Mac Lane podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Graham Lincoln Mac Lane. Welcome to game week, baby. Let's go, Eric McLean.
KG, we're here. We are finally freaking here, and it feels so good. My gosh, I'm jacked up. I'm excited. It's funny, when we were a couple of weeks away, I was looking at the schedule and moving stuff around. I was like, it feels so far. And then you kind of put stuff together. You're like, actually, it's not. And we're here. We made it. And, man, what a great week of ACC football. Thursday night games, Friday night games, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 straight days. The only conference that does that. And of course, we are capping off our ACC preview shows right here, right now, with the Clemson Tigers and our guy, Coach Dabo Swinney. So it's a great time, KG. It's a great time.
It's a great day to be alive, Eric McLean, as we get ready for college football. And we're super excited to talk Clemson. We saved Clemson for last as they are our pick to win the ACC. We're getting ready for a bunch of games this week. Let's talk about Ingles here for a second, Eric McLean, because I posted something last week about, and I'm going to sing it for you, girl dinner. If you haven't seen the girl dinner trend, which some people might not be familiar, you need to go look it up. It's a hilarious spoof on the fact that women eat ridiculous things for dinner. If it's just me eating dinner, I'll have some guacamole, some strawberries, some peanuts, and a cube of cheese. Like, it's just ridiculous, right? And that's what we do. So if you're looking for your girl dinner, you can go get that at Ingles. Yes, exactly. And yeah, Mac, are you eating girl dinner? Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you.
I'm a girl dinner. I'm ready. Not girl dad, girl dinner. We're ready to go.
Well, point is, they have everything you could need for girl dinner, but they also have everything you need for this weekend. As you said, football on the telly every single night. You're going to want to be grilling. You're going to want to make buffalo chicken dip. You're going to want to make wings. You're going to want to make everything, Mac. Everything.
We got to get it going, KG, this week. And it's a double-edged sword, right? Because we're traveling every week. I'm going to be gone for all of these games. So I am kind of sad. I'm not sitting out on my back porch, grilling like a madman, watching these great games. But I'm going to be working. Some of us got to work around here. So I'll be dreaming of that. And we've got a big-time friend of the show, my boy Anthony at Wake Forest. He's going to be rolling some ribs Thursday. I'm going to have to make sure he gets those from Ingles. But you guys will see that on social media. We might have it on the show. Who knows? But yeah, excited, KG. This season, tailgating, pre-gaming, whatever you got to do, go to your Ingles, get it there. You got the curbside pickup. They can't make it any easier for you guys. So real quick, before we get to Coach Dabo Swinney and this great interview, let's hear a message from our friends over at Ingles.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department, or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Coach Swinney, man, welcome back to the podcast, your yearly appearance. We really appreciate you making some time for us today. And it's the media tour. You guys had your in-house deal, so we're kind of the last stop, right? That's how it works?
Well, you're my first stop.
Yes.
You're my first stop, so I kind of kick it off with you guys. Y'all are numero uno.
I love
that. And only because of Kelly. So
that's fair.
Appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah. So y'all are first, and then I go from here. I've got a couple meetings, and then we've got it going on, but it's the coaches are meeting right now, and I think I go at like 12:30.
I love that. Well, hey, you also just had your ladies clinic, which, man, one of my favorite events every year, especially when I was a player, being involved with that and helping it out. And you guys you're able to help so many women with that event and raise awareness, raise a lot of money. I saw a number of 250,000. I think it might be more than that when it's all said and done. I know that was great to get that rolling.
Yeah, it was an awesome day. It was like 1,500 plus ladies here. Wow. And it's always a ton of energy. You know, we open the doors at 7 a.m., but they're there at 5:45. And but it's a full day. but it's a powerful day. I mean, it is a powerful day, but a lot of fun, a lot of emotion, and just a lot of courageous ladies that come and really, draw strength from one another through their stories. The manager, Snicker, the manager of the Braves, his wife came. She's a 30-year cancer survivor, breast cancer survivor. She came and did a great job for us. So it was a great day and a ton of fun. Brian Brzez's mom and sister were here. Megan and Kendall, and Ella was here this time last year, a part of the ladies clinic. And so it was a great way to honor her. Jeremiah Trotter's mom, Miss Tammy, passed away from breast cancer, just recently back this spring. And so we were able to honor her. So, a lot of great moments, and learned a little football as well, and had a ton of fun.
Yeah, definitely bigger than football, Coach. I know that. Well, before we dive into some football, I got to ask a fun question here. You had a crazy offseason. You had a wedding, a family wedding, which had to be fun. So tell us more about the wedding and tell us about something fun you did in the offseason.
Yeah, well, so Drew got married, and that was amazing. First experience for me to see my child, who I've known for 23 years. It's like, because it doesn't matter. Y'all will learn this. And congrats. Didn't you just have a baby boy, maybe?
Yes. He's out there with my neighbor right now.
Yeah. Well, guess what? In 2 weeks, he's getting married. I mean, it's just like.
My husband says that to me, Coach, and I say, no, he's not. No woman's taking him from me.
People tell you, like, enjoy your kids. They grow up so fast. And you're like, I'm just trying to make it to next week.
That's right.
You're at that stage of life. But it's so true, man. I mean, your kids grow up so fast. But what happens is, it doesn't matter when they get hair under their arms and all that, and he's 20 and he's, you still look at them as your little baby. That's just kind of how it always is and always will be. And it gives you a different perspective of your parents as well.
Yeah.
But man, it was a surreal moment, a great moment. And man, I got my first, daughter in my family, and man, Mary Crosby she's just an angel, sweetest little girl. So it's been great. We had that. And then probably the coolest thing I did was we went to South Africa in May for about 8 days or so, and that was an amazing experience. We went with about 30 Clemson people.
Wow. Come on.
And it was actually a trip that was planned back in May of 20.
Oh, wow.
And it just kept getting, pushed, and finally it happened. And, it was amazing to be out in the bush, as they say, and boom, there's a lion, eating his prey, looking at you.
Oh my God!
Just it was wild. So you do these game drives at like 5:30 in the morning and 3:30, and it was like 2-a-days. No TV. You're just out in the middle. It was amazing to be in that environment. We got to see Cape Town, which was a beautiful place. So we did Cape Town, Durban, and then we were in the bush.
Wow!
But it was.
Did you go cage diving with some great whites? You do that?
No, I didn't do that.
Smart, good choice.
Didn't do that.
Matt, Coach is like a pro athlete. That's in his contract. He can't do that.
Yeah, that's that's awesome, man. I'm sure that was a lot of fun, and man, I know you're just gearing up and ready. All in meetings coming up, and I know that's kind of where you set the tone. Tomorrow, we're here. We're ready, baby. So let's dive into this team, Coach, because arguably you made one of the biggest hires, if not the biggest hire of this off season, and made a huge splash going and get Garrett Riley from TCU, was the Broyles Award winner, was just a brilliant mind, and that was on full display each and every weekend. Why did you think it was necessary to make that change right now, this offseason?
Yeah, well, honestly, Garrett. I had an opportunity to hire Garrett, and I felt like that, it was just the right change. Sometimes you have freshmen come in that beat out seniors, right? That can happen from time to time. And honestly, if it wasn't for Garrett, would not have made a change.
Sure.
Streeter did a great job. Streeter did a wonderful job for us. He's a Clemson man through and through, one of the best people I know. and did a great job for 8 years here, recruiting quarterbacks, coaching quarterbacks. I mean, that's well documented. And we got better last year. I mean, it was his first year as the coordinator, and we won the league. We won 11 games, and we 21 will always be my one. That's always going to be like one of my top 3 favorite teams ever because that was one of the craziest years ever, and we had no business winning 10 games, but somehow they did. That was a culture year. And last year, we went from like 90th in scoring up to 30th. It was our best third down ever since I've been the head coach, our best red zone ever. And so we got better. But honestly, I just felt like there was just a little bit of lack of confidence in our guys. And it was an opportunity to hire Garrett, and I thought that he was the shot of confidence that we need. And listen, ball is ball. At the end of the day, I always say, what we do doesn't necessarily have to be the best, but the players have to believe it's the best, and I just felt like that we had a little bit of lack of confidence, and for whatever reason, and it was just the right time, a little bit for a reset. So it's been great. Garrett's been a great addition, as the other staff, members that we've got on board here, and we're well positioned to go have another great year. And we've had 12 really, really good years, and we've had some great years over the past 12 plus years, and I think this team is positioned to go compete again for this league. And as I always say, if you can compete for the league, you can do anything. And even last year, we were really literally 1 point away from being back in the playoff. And but I'm excited about where we are. I'm excited about our offense, excited about Cade. We lost one offensive lineman. All them dudes are back. We got our backs back. We got our receivers healthy. Brandy's ready to, and Sage are ready to step up and do more things. And so it's there's a belief that I think's been reinstilled in our guys, and it's exciting. DJ did a great job for us. End of the day, he was 22-6 as a starter, and he had 2 of those losses were double overtime on the road. One of them was a pick 6 against the Natty team, and one was a 1-point loss. And that's how small the margin for error. 3 bounces differently. He's probably 26-2, and it's a different conversation today. But that's where we are, and so we're well positioned moving forward, and excited to see how we do.
You mentioned Cade. We got to talk about my fellow Texan here, Cade Klubnik. Looks like he's had a really good offseason, getting in with Garrett Riley and learning this new system. So what can we expect from QB1 this season?
Well, he's had a good year. A little year plus. I mean, he very talented coming in, obviously very smart, really just a gym rat. I mean, he's everything you want in a quarterback, but he really needed to physically develop, and he needed to get some experience. And, so we were able to accomplish all of those things on a good path for him last year. He had some success. He had a little bit of disappointment as well, but he's about, I think he was 203 or 204 the other day, and he was 179 pounds when he got here. And I've compared him to Deshaun very often physically, just very similar paths from a maturation standpoint. Deshaun was the same thing, about maybe 180 when he got here, and he was 200, and now he's about 215 or so. But Cade's on that track. So physically, he's just in a different place, and then mentally, he's in a different place because there's no greater teacher than experience. And then leadership wise, he's a natural. I mean, he's just a natural. And again, he's a grinder. Kid works his butt off, and he's excited for his opportunity. But, sky's the limit for this kid.
Coach, you mentioned those wide receivers and just being healthy, and that's what I've seen on Twitter all morning. Like you said, guys doing their media thing and different quotes that I've seen coming out of the camp. Who do you see really stepping up to be that guy? I mean, you would have had such a rich history of these dominant wide receiver ones. Is there one guy that you've seen that you think is the alpha or that can step up to really be that leader?
I think we got a bunch of them, just like in the past. I mean, when we had T. Higgins, everybody say T. Higgins. Well, what about Renfro?
Yeah.
What about J. Ross? What about Amari? What about Cornell on those teams? I mean, we've had a lot of good players, and that's when we've been at our best. When we've had, we can roll 3 or 4 guys out there that can play for anybody, and that's what we have. The good thing is a lot of them are really unknown or a little unproven. So there's, which is why you have a lot of conversation about our receivers. But you look at our recruiting, anybody in the country would have signed Adam Randall. I mean, he's a monster.
Yeah.
But things happen, and I mean, it's just there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, he obviously tore his ACL that first spring and missed all last summer, so he missed all the summer, most of all of camp, and then we kind of had to get him back going. But toward the end of the year, he started to kind of, and this is a true freshman, and he started to kind of find his way a little bit. Well, now he's really in a good place, and we just gotta catch a break and stay healthy. If we stay healthy, we got dudes. That's all I can tell you. There's nobody out there that can withstand the type of inconsistency that we've had as far as availability. In our best teams, we you got to have some luck along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just part of it. And our best teams that we've had, we were able to be a little lucky, and our best players were able to stay healthy. But looking at our receivers, I mean, it starts with Bo Collins. I mean, Bo Collins, now I've said this many times, this kid had a really good freshman year and was off to a great start last year, but he's battled injuries. He's had shoulder surgeries. He's had hamstring. He's had a lot of things that he's had to deal with, but he's just a true junior, and he's battle tested. But Bo Collins is a pro. I mean, he's a guy he could go to any pro team today and just fit right in. He is the consummate pro. He's technically advanced. He's fundamentally advanced. He's crafty. He's big. He can run. I mean, he's just, when he's healthy, he's a problem. But everybody looks at him and wants to see this senior version. He's just a young guy that's had some inconsistency with his availability. But Bo Collins is where it starts. And then Antonio is coming off a freshman All-American year. He's a great player. He's a great talent. I mean, the kid is I think, going to have a sophomore surge instead of a sophomore slump.
I like that.
As they like to say. I think the kid's going to have a great year. Same thing. If Antonio Williams is on the field, good things are going to happen. He's a great player. He's another guy that will play at the next level. And then you got Adam Randall and Cole Turner. Both of these guys are really special talents. They're just young players, and everybody, they're just young players. And Cole Turner, we were able to redshirt, and you saw him do it.
Yeah, you kind of snuck him in the last couple games there.
Yeah, and so nobody really knows much about him, but Cole Turner is a dude. This guy is going to have a heck of a career here. If he's one of the fastest kids that's come through here. He's long. He's got great ball skills. He's a natural. He really doesn't even know he's good.
Right.
But he played 2 years of high school football.
Wow.
And so
John Munson said he's the second fastest dude on the team. Is that true?
Yeah,
or is he
probably him and Nate. It's probably him and
Wow.
Nate.
Whew.
I'd like
gosh.
to see him foot race, but it,
Wow.
They both claim. But he can fly, and he's almost a 38, 40-inch vertical.
Jeez.
But he's just a good athlete. But he's not some, he's not some polished T. Higgins senior version. None of those guys were. But this kid is going to get better and better and better as he plays. And then Adam Randall, he's one of the most unique players that we've had here, and an unbelievable kid. He'll be a true sophomore. So those four, along with Brandon Spector, who is a guy that can play any of the positions, and everybody hears Spector and they're like, oh, this guy's been there for 10 years. Last year's the first year this kid's played. He had a little spot, red shirt, he had a little spot play that next year, and then he was out for a whole year. Antonio Williams, I think, has more snaps than Brandon Spector in his career.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
And so he really, same thing, just still, even though he's been around, he finally got some experience last year. So those five guys is kind of where it starts for us at the position, and we got everything we need. We just got to get a little lucky, and then we signed 4. We went and signed Tyler Brown, who can fly. We signed Myson Kelly Tink, who's a kind of a dual threat guy. We signed Ronan Hannafin, a big-bodied receiver. We signed Noble Johnson, same thing, another big kid that can play all over the field that came in. So we got a lot of good dudes, and we got to coach them up, and a lot more options than we've had in the last couple of years.
I know that Tiger fans are going to be excited about your answer there, Coach, for sure. So let's talk some defense here. We got to talk about this defense, which was so consistent last year and maybe just didn't get as much credit. But, they kept Clemson in a lot of games last year and won a lot of games for you guys. So what do you expect from Wes Goodwin year 2? Year 1, taking over for Brent Venables. I mean, that's a daunting task for anybody.
Yep.
So what are we thinking for year 2 with Wes Goodwin at the helm?
Be better. It's easy. Be better. Really the whole thing with our team this year. Again, we're as bad as we apparently were last year. We're a fumbled punt return and a fumbled kick return in the fourth quarter from being in the playoff. As bad as we so-called were last year, we won the league, we won 11 games, and we're a fumbled punt return and a fumbled kick return and a couple other plays from being in the playoff.
Yeah.
But we got to be better. And the two things that we got, if we're a better passing offense and we're a better pass defense, then we're going to have a great year. And so we got to be better there, period. And everybody knows that, and I think we will be. I think we've shored up our experience and our depth in the secondary. Obviously, all them dudes up front, as those guys coming back. I mean, we didn't expect that. None of us expected. If you'd have told me this time last year that XT and Maskell and Rook and Tyler Davis was going to be back for us to talk about on me today, I'd have said, well, sign me up for that. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going. It's pretty amazing that those guys are here to lead the way. And we've got, some young depth at end, but we're just really, we've got some versatility in that D-line. Obviously, I think we got the best linebackers in the country in Barrett and Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Nate, man, he took it on the chin early last year because he got exposed. We had some guys last year that got exposed from a detail commitment standpoint.
Yep.
Accountability. That's just the best way I can say it. And it was, and you know what? You respond one of two ways when that happens. You either get better or you get bitter, or you get gone, and man, Nate got better, and he's a special talent. He just needed to grow up. He needed to become way more detailed. He needed to become more accountable, and he's done that. I'm really proud of him. Makuba, same way. I thought he had a average year last year, and same thing. I thought he lost his focus. I don't think he was very accountable. He battled through a lot of injuries. He was hurt a lot, which really affected him, I think, mentally. And he is locked in. He's one of the leaders in accountability points on our team.
Wow. He's
190 something pounds. He's just unbelievably focused. Really proud of him. We got some other guys, obviously Sheridan coming back. He's a guy that kind of has found his confidence. He's found his swag, if you will. So he gives you that really veteran presence. Toriano got some experience. Man, Jaden Lucas he's a kid that has all the ability in the world. And then we signed some guys, Shelton Lewis, Avion Strozier. So we just got more depth. And then we got veteran experience in the secondary. RJ Mickens is a great player. T-Bone, JP's back. We didn't think he was coming back. So we're just a different group than we were this time last year.
Right.
We kind of had to you got it. Sometimes you can't get experience without going and playing.
That's right.
So we're just a more experienced group. We got some veteran dudes up front. We got some good young dynamic talent. And but man, Barrett and Trotter kind of set the tone. A guy like Woodaz, who came on. I mean, this kid is a really good football player.
Mm-hmm.
So I like our group, but to answer your question, we just got to be better. We weren't as good as we need to be, and we were good enough to win this league. We were good enough to win 11 games, but we got more goals, man, ahead of us.
That's right. Well, Coach, man, this was so much fun. I know you got a lot to do. We appreciate you for joining us again.
Hey, always good to be with y'all.
We always love chatting with Dabo Swinney, and he always takes time to come on the pod. We appreciate that very much. He's one of the busiest men in college football. So let's get into his team, Mac. And he's excited about this offense. He talked about Garrett Riley. I think Garrett Riley and this new look Clemson offense is one of the main topics of college football heading into this season. Is this offense going to look more creative? Are they going to utilize the deep ball more? Is Cade Klubnik the guy? Mac, go ahead. Answer all those questions. I'm just kidding. But you went to practice. You've seen it with your own eyes. What can Clemson fans expect from this new look offense?
A lot of excitement, a lot of creativity, like you said, and not going to get into too many of the trade secrets yet, Kenji. But everything that I saw was, super, super exciting, and offensively, schematically, with motions, formations, personnel, guys in really fun, spots and things of that nature, which I think Clemson fans have been kind of, screaming for a couple of years and really yearning for. And that's exciting to see. So, when the thing that stood out to me most about practice really was probably three things offensively. Number one was the passion that Will Shipley has. I mean, that dude is nuts. I mean, he's yelling, screaming at teammates on the other side when they're competing in drills. He's going at them physically, just imposing his will, right? And it's just good on good. Just, hey, Bear Carter, Will Shipley over and over and over. And to see that and the confidence that he was playing with is exciting. I mean, the dude made first team All-ACC preseason at 3 different positions. That's crazy how versatile and how good of a player he really is. An All-American. I think he was a second team All-American that just came out last week. And then the second thing was Cade Klubnik. His confidence in the offense, his ownership of the offense, physically looked different, looked bigger. And I know I told you about this way before, KG, but he missed a throw that it was an easy completion, and just timing. He had guys in his face. He missed the throw, and he was ticked, like screaming at himself, like, "What are you doing? Like, throw the football!" And then the very next play, he throws a dart for a touchdown. And I think just that passion from those two guys is going to just spread throughout everybody. And when you see that fire and that leadership, and when things aren't happening as they're supposed to, you can really lean on that, and they'll kind of push you back to the top. The third thing I noticed, and I think people are going to be really excited about this, I was very excited, is the offensive line was dominant in team drills, in like competitive short yardage, goal line. Coach Swinney was jacked up about it. Those guys looked really good
against this D-line.
Against this D-line, which also was loaded. And this is the thing.
Wow.
EJ Manuel and I were joking about this the other day. We get one glimpse at practice. Now, I did get 3 days, but one glimpse of practice. And that just could just be a bad day for a quarterback, for a coordinator, for a defense, whatever. So, don't take it however you want to. That was just that one day that I was there. The offensive line was, they were road grading dudes. They looked really good. It was impressive.
Well, Clemson fans are going to love hearing all of that, Mac. Mac's 3 points, which were very insightful there, as Mac spent a lot of time at practice. Before we talk about this defense, which it's funny, you were saying the O-line was really winning the day in these practices, which Clemson's O-line has struggled a bit since, I would say, 18-19, if you will. So that's very, very interesting. I think the other big question, and I love your insight here, wide receiver. This is a program that has been known as Wide Receiver U.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, it hasn't been that. It just hasn't. Injuries have piled up. Injuries have certainly been an issue. You've missed on some guys, some 5-stars that came in and didn't really produce. But I know Dabo Swinney talked about it too. He's very excited about this wide receiver group. What did you see there, Mac? Is this going to be a step back towards Wide Receiver U?
Right. I think if they're healthy, yes, the talent is there. Now, were there any Mike Williams on the field? Not yet. Were there any Sammy Watkins, Nuke Hopkins? Not yet. I think these guys have the potential, to get there. But it's kind of one of those things with other teams that I've said, you got to prove it to me. I have to see it, right? It's not something that, in practice or talking to a coach or hearing from other people. You got to do it in a game when it matters in clutch situations. But everything that I saw makes me think that they can be. I think it starts with Bo Collins. He was a guy that really just popped a lot while I was there at Clemson, making big plays, making smart plays, being a go-to guy that I think can really help them and deliver. And people forget Bo Collins, led the ACC in passing touchdowns like the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, then got hurt and was out for a significant time. So he has kind of proven that he is that target and can be that guy. Antonio Williams, freshman All-American. What can he do to build on that? Was Clemson's best receiver last year. Super mobile guy, super versatile guy. Interesting to see, where do they align him? Do they put him in the slot? Do they put him out wide ever? Move him around, try to get him targets. And then Adam Randall's probably the X factor, the piece that maybe has the highest ceiling. Just a huge guy, right? Like big dude, 6'3.5", 6'4", 225 pounds, physically imposing guy. And he's just got to get on track. He hurt his knee last year, was able to play a little bit at the end of the season, I think last spring actually, and was able to play a little bit. But he's got all that experience now of a full year. How does he use that? How does he grow upon that and become a really, reliant target every day, in practice, in games, consistently, being that dude, and what steps can he take forward? Cole Turner's a burner. I mean, we all saw that. I think Cole's only going to expound on his role and the things that he's able to do. And then, of course, Jake Brenningstool, the tight end in the middle of the field. I think he and Cade are going to be best friends, when it comes to things are happening. I got to get the ball out quick, got to get it to my guy. So that was exciting to see. Kind of those four. If those four can really roll, or five, counting the tight end, you feel solid, super solid. If they're on the field, Clemson's going to score a lot of points, going to move the ball relatively easy. But here's kind of a cliffhanger I'm going to leave you with, listeners, and I'm not telling you names. You're just going to have to wait and see. There were 2 freshman wide receivers that were nuts. Some of them running with a little bit of first-team reps. Not telling you names. You'll have to see week 1. But those guys impressed me. They reminded me of some Clemson legends. And, again, once game week comes around, they actually do it. I'll tell you who. But just get excited for that.
I have a hunch who you are referring to, and I think some Clemson fans might have a hunch who you are referring to. But like Max said, you're going to have to wait and see week 1 against Duke. First of all, Cole Turner's a burner. That's excellent, Mac. This is why we paid the big bucks. Secondly, you talk about the health of the wide receivers. And this is something, I think Dabo, I'm not sure if he mentioned this to us or in another interview, but prior to, I would say, the COVID year, Clemson had honestly kind of ridiculously good luck with injuries. Guys just really didn't get hurt. You had Deshaun Watson get hurt as a true freshman, but you weren't going to make the playoff that year anyway. And then 2020, I think of the COVID year when Trevor Lawrence gets COVID and can't play against Notre Dame. Of course, that's really bad luck. But before that, the injury luck was really good. And you got to get a little lucky in the injury department. And last year, and even the year before, the injury luck has not gone Clemson's way. So if that can change, if that can shift, that's going to be a really big improvement for the Tigers. It's just kind of as simple as that at the wide receiver position. Mac, let's talk defense. Now, from what you were saying to me, this defense was just getting run over in practice? I mean, is this what you're saying?
Bunch of slappies, you know what I'm saying? No, they were, that drill, they were getting beat. Coach called them out. They got beat. It just is what it is. And that happens, at times. And when you're this good of a team, you kind of want that, right? You expect that, where it's, back and forth. Maybe defense wins one drill, offense wins the other. It might be a little concerning if it was just one way either side, for the totality of practices and competitive drills. But KG, this defense is going to be good. Quite frankly, going to be, I think, a top 3 defense in the country. I think they're back to kind of their old ways where they're comfortable, going into year 2 with Wes Goodwin as the guy. I think the comfort level from him, Coach joked about it with me. He said, you got better, from your first year as being an analyst to where you are now, and all those kind of jokes that he had. And it makes sense. A guy kind of earning his respect with the players, figuring out just the new role, where and how to insert himself, and how aggressive can he be. but also kind of with the personnel. And I know, Clemson had those, 3 dudes drafted really high in the NFL draft from the defensive side of the ball, but they're making some improvements defensively. And when I look at this defensive line, I mean, they are loaded. They are just jam-packed with talent, especially on the inside. Peter Woods, I mean, we've heard so much about it, KG. You and I were trying to be skeptics about it. And everything that we'd heard, you're like, come on.
We were.
Let him get a snap first before we do this. But the dude is for real. And I might say this hot take. I kind of wanted to save it. But I think by the end of the year, or maybe not even long, he might be Clemson's best defensive player. And he's a true freshman. I mean, it is bonkers to see the talent that he has, the skill set, the mindset, the attitude. It's crazy. But we'll see. He's a super talented guy. And then Ruka Rororo, Tyler Davis, both back. Both should be in the NFL. Both got second-round grades by the NFL draft process and decided they wanted to get that first round. They wanted to come back for more. Super impressed there. Linebacking core is the best in the country, with Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter, and Wade Woodaz. Those 3 are going to be just freaky. I think they add super versatility with what you want to do. You can spread them out. You can keep them in. You don't have to sub. All 3 of those guys can play anywhere in space, as kind of the nickel hybrid out wide. They can play back as a safety. Barrett Carter, just put him wherever you want. Wade Woodaz, put him whatever you want. So from that aspect, with kind of those 2 units, and Xavier Thomas and of course the both defensive ends and Justin Maskell, with that front 7, there's a lot that you can show there. And I'm going to be interested, KG, to see, what does Clemson do schematically? Do they throw a bunch of different looks where maybe it's 3 down linemen and 2 linebackers and 5 secondaries? Is it a mixture of that? Is there 5 down linemen in at one time and you're just trying to get matchups? I think they're going to be really creative. I think they're going to be super multiple and just give people a lot to deal with each and every week.
I agree. I think that front 7, just the depth chart, the ones are probably, can argue to be one of the best groups of front 7s in the country. 2 things that worried me a little bit, Mac. Linebacker depth.
Yeah.
Just because, like you said, you have those 3, you don't have to sub, but what happens if one gets hurt, which of course you can't really bank. I mean, you can't analyze if that happens, but I'm just saying linebacker depth is a little thin. And then the secondary last year was a weak spot. You could think of that Wake Forest game where Sam Hartman just threw touchdown after touchdown, and so did DJU. So do you expect this secondary to be a little better? And then just tell me from a football perspective, is the linebacker depth a concern?
Yeah, I think defensive end and linebacker depth is a concern. I mean, because the next guy, super young or super inexperienced, one of the 2. And so it's one of those things where I think that does kind of lead to maybe even more creativity. How can we have more of what we got on the field? Clemson probably has 3 or 4 safeties they do really good about. So do one of those linebackers step off just from a health perspective, or if one does get hurt, knock on wood, for anybody, we don't want anybody injured. Are they forced a little bit to be more creative with what they have out there? Same thing with defensive end. Do they have 3 defensive linemen out there and 1 defensive end, 3 different defensive linemen, 2 of them are defensive tackles? Who knows what that look is going to be like? But I think to say it's a concern is fair, just because of the depth perspective and what they have behind it. Now, again, that's not to say that Clemson hasn't recruited their tail off and has 4 and 5 stars waiting that we just don't quite know about yet. So I think it's fair to say it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then, looking at this secondary, it's something where even last year it didn't quite make sense because of all the talent. I mean, you're talking about 5-star after 5-star getting, taking advantage of at times. And they're just young. They weren't ready, forced into action via injury and other decision-making and things of that nature. So those guys have grown up. And I think they got marginally better, as the season went on. But just can they all put it together in the same game? I don't know if we really saw that. Maybe North Carolina was the best example of where that defensive backfield was all on the same page. And, of course, we saw Nate Wiggins just have the game of his life, was the MVP or defensive MVP. And how can they all get going? I really like the safeties. I think the corners, there's enough depth and guys waiting. It's just who are the best, 4 or 5 that go out there and earn the spot.
Mac, let's talk about the schedule. I think this schedule is one that we need to analyze because Vegas has the number at 10. That's what we've seen. 10 for Clemson, which means you got to guarantee 11-1. And I think you, Mac, you were talking about this off air. Okay, 11 wins. I don't see 2 losses. I agree. But when they put the number at 10, that means you got to guarantee 11-1 or better. I see 11-1. I think the one loss, possibly you've got Florida State. Of course, that is at home. And you do have Notre Dame at home. And Notre Dame whooped your tail last year. Like, you can't deny what Notre Dame did to Clemson last year. It was ugly. It was embarrassing. So those are the 2. And then even, Mac, this is a game I have circled. I'm taking the over, by the way. I'm just being clear. But at NC State on October 28th, I was in attendance 2 years ago when NC State beat Clemson at Carter Finley. It's a tough place to go win. That's another game. That's also the week before Notre Dame. That's another game that could be interesting. But when you look at this schedule, Mac, and you see the numbers 10, what are your thoughts?
Over, yeah. No, I think Clemson is back. I think that the all the things that we just mentioned, just again seeing them in person, how big they are, how deep they are, the way that they practice, the confidence of the offense. Garrett Riley, I mean, that dude he's ready, to take a big step with this team, and I just think it's going to be business as usual for the Tigers. Now, certainly there's going to be.
So are you saying? Are you saying 12-0?
Yeah, I think they're undefeated. I do. And I think that, at Duke, obviously a very tough test. Florida State coming to town, tough test. At NC State, North Carolina, Notre Dame. And then, honestly, out South Carolina. You lost to them last. Shouldn't have lost to them, but you did. They're much improved.
Forgot about them. My bad.
All the things that, easy to forget. All the things, that I've heard about them with Coach Beamer and the way he's recruiting and, Spencer Rattler playing at a super high level. That game could be fascinating. Yeah. And seeing Drake and him back to back could be an interesting run there, for Clemson to end the season. So excited for them. But yeah, I think the Tigers go undefeated. I think they're back, in a conference, championship, obviously, and then the playoff. And who knows? I'm not quite yet going to say they're going to be national champions. I think we need to see kind of how this team meshes together. But just given what you see on paper, I feel really good about their schedule here.
I hate to say this, but I think there's a loss on this schedule. I'm not sure I see 12-0. That being said, I think a one-loss ACC champ with the way Florida State's playing, and honestly, with Clemson's schedule, having Notre Dame on there, having North Carolina, having Duke, who could jump into the polls, having South Carolina, who could jump into the polls, I think a one-loss ACC champ gets in. So I think this is an 11-1 schedule, but I think whoever wins the ACC is getting in the playoff. So I'm going to leave it at that.
I agree with it. Come on, KG. I can't wait to see it. It's game week. Wednesday, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Verse coming on the show. Florida State, we'll preview them. And then, of course, Friday, big show. We got a lot of games to talk about. And then the following Monday, a week from today, Clemson fans, you're going to want to re-tune back in. Of course, your game that Monday night. Cannot wait to see it. We're going to have a great guest there, too. I'm not going to just give away all the secrets quite yet. You'll have to come back and see it. But that's it from us. Hey, I mentioned this a couple shows ago. Go on TikTok and follow us. If you're, want to be a 17-year-old again like we do, go over there, hang out on TikTok. We do some really fun content. KG's talking about girl dinners and mom dinners and all these different.
Girl dinner.
She has going on there. We do some really fun stuff. It's kind of a hybrid between just our personal lives and, of course, what we're doing on the show here with Gramlich and Mac Lane. But that's it from us. Shout out to Ingles. Cannot do that without them. All this great content, all this fun stuff that we're doing. Shout out to Ross Taylor, SID at Clemson, and, of course, Coach Dabo Swinney for joining us. We always appreciate his time. But that's it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Go over to YouTube, subscribe, leave some comments. Of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts as well. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.